It was a chilly December morning on Magnolia Street. The last of the leaves hung onto the trees desperately, not wanting to fall off until the following spring would bring them back again. The wind blew powerfully, shaking the windows on Abigail Weaver's small white mid-century home. She awoke as she did most mornings. She wrote in her journal for a few minutes before gazing out her window across to admire the view of her backyard. She looked over at her empty bed. She was still adjusting to sleeping alone. Abigail then went downstairs and pet her cat Solis before watering her plants. On Sundays, Abigail liked to bake fresh cookies like her parents would make her when she was young. In the afternoon, she decided to make herself some tea, carefully selecting which pot she used from her expansive collection. She chose her favorite rooster pot and sipped the vanilla blackberry tea while reading a magazine on her steps. She took the time to admire her new neighbor's freshly painted home. She then looked one house down to the old navy and white home next door, noting how they had finally taken down their decorations from Halloween.
Jackson Green's only daughter Alice was supposed to have come visit weeks earlier to take down the decorations, but she got caught up in her schedule having 2 kids and wasn't able to make the hour-long drive up. This Sunday morning went for Jackson as most did. He slowly combed out his wife's drying hair as he did every Sunday morning after her bath. He played his old jazz records while he carefully clothed her, reminiscing to the times that they would stay up till dawn dancing to those same records at nightclubs and after parties. The process they had grown accustomed to felt extra draining on Jackson this morning, and he wondered if it was because his wife's strength felt softer and softer each day, or because his did. He decided that he would take her out to the park for a stroll. They enjoyed walking and watching the children and families play outside, bringing them back to the days when they would take their children to the park.
One house to the left of Jackson's, Lucy Hyde had just woken up. Lucy loved Sundays because she could spend the morning playing in her room with her toys, who she sometimes felt like were her only friends, but didn't really mind. She also enjoyed drawing or writing in her diary. She spent her morning by sneaking into her mother's room to admire her glimmering vanity, then looking at her pink globe, imagining all the faraway places she would one day see. She hoped her brother would take her to the park that day, where she could play on the playground till dinner. She decided to go over to his room to ask.
Hunter Hyde had been up since 5 a.m. listening to a variety of motivational speakers, all promising a new and innovative 5-step program to success. He had recently graduated high school and chose to not continue his education, but rather to pioneer a tech startup that would help you meet your soulmate through a scientific mix of monitoring your breathing patterns combined with your astrological sign. He liked to start his days with a high-protein smoothie and 4 egg whites on 2 pieces of lightly toasted whole wheat bread. He didn't like being home. He always felt as though his parents had a bullshit relationship and would end up like the sad old couple next door. Or even worse, like the divorced lady across the street that collected teapots. Hunter decided he needed to get out more, and that he would in fact bring his sister to the park.
Clyde Stanton woke up to the sound of wind. He looked over at his empty bed sheets, which he'd grown accustomed to, since his job had never allowed him to find someone to settle down with. He liked his new house, though, and felt as though a new chapter would begin in his home. He spent his morning as he did most Sundays, first by reading the book by his bedside table, then looking out his window, admiring his newly painted home. He went downstairs and pet his dog Luna before watering his flowers. He spent his Sundays like most, by baking fresh lemon bread like his grandmother used to. In the afternoon, he made himself some coffee while carefully selecting which one of his paintings from his collection he would hang on his living room wall. He then took his coffee and sat outside, reading a book on his porch, and looked across the street to his neighbors, who was sitting on her steps, drinking tea. He smiled. She waved.